Mona balechula kuno na chipampafu Mamonia baba no luteteria shidian kama baby la nempofu Bali wotu fuko twandala mabati kwa basala kunsala tule tulama Gata tulile bulu weni shini bondo Echa mipaishta shinde kapala mafi Yeso tile pokeni mulenga Wame pelo lukombo pokeni mulwe Neso basani na shesu wile kama twisi Miala teva nesu wabo Wakutambika poka chuma chove Wushiku wakusala wikalaba teva nove Eva tu pele feki kondomo, mafuan plandi, muchalo moni kondomo. Can't you feel for mother Zambia, where you are, sure. If you forever to sit walila, mule tu vele all the same. Do you honestly understand? The great was my we chose you. You make a big material to bring to us. Bapishi bapenda kudio popote, lidio se maluva bakuta mbapena tufota. Gaswati bakupa wilanda Sancho, fyewe fintu vaibe pesha kushimbe anso. Valeti la nimpoka brown envelope. Wala jamani mwapusa lupu. Tetingo wangu tunishi pali na supu. Ni black malasa na lite ya puputunga. Valeta kudye salate chibusa wesopo. Kwa imini na pali shibi kwa ba wesuso. Kuntolo kungu poli voters God vote your insecurity bekubo show my God. Na lelo bushiku violence of mona balechula kuno na chipampafu. Mamoni abota baba no lusetedi ashidi kama baby na nempofu. Bali wotu fuko twandala mabati kwa basala kunsala tule tulama. Gata tulile bulu weni shini bondo. Echa mipaishta shinde kapala mafi. Yeso atile pokeni mulenga Wame pelo lukombo pokeni mulwe Neso basani na shesu wile kama twisi Miala teva nesu wabo Wakutambika poka chuma chove Wushiku wakusala wikalaba teva nove Eva tu pele feki kondomo Mafuan plandi muchalo moni kondomo Can't you feel for mother Zambia, where you are, sure. If you forever to sit walila, mule tu vele all the same. Do you honestly understand? The great was when we chose you. Can they compare material to bring to us sustenance for a lifetime? Akatenanga bupindebe pele sole mwana mwa batumula patilingwa ngaba pita ya pita chapita banana ba polisi tapwe mwe mwapatwa ishoba ibateti benesha mu matoke timweteti mupende pakufika kumwesu yakalolo katikatila bali bomba yema yona yutu kurumba kushita petila matoke tikulu na latsa pamulu sedana ena obamwe batiswa yeta baba no sawa bali nawo Nalelo bushiku violence of mona balechula kuno na chipampafu Mamoni abota baba no lusetedi ashidi kama baby la nempofu Bali wotu fuko twandala mabati kwa basala kunsala tule tulama Gata tulile bulu weni shini bondo Echa mipaishta shinde kapala mafi Yeso atile pokeni mulenga Wame pelo lukombo pokeni mulwe Neso basani na shesu wile kama twisi Miala teva nesu wabo Wakutambika poka chuma chove Wushiku wakusala wikalaba teva nove Eva tu pele feki kondomo Mafuan plandi muchalo moni kondomo Can't you feel for mother Zambia, where you are, sure. If you forever to sit walila, mule tu vele all the same. Do you honestly understand? The great was when we chose you. Can they compare material to bring to us again? Eva tupelio muti wabola amakondo mufumbi fimbi tatualaba Gaba kupaskata poka fio shete Bati pakuvota wikalabo kashete mona fie Jishetu wale muchusha Dala pola na nomba monevyo wale mushupa Nove yuti mona pepe wakususha Bakwibusha pakuvota elo bakubonfia Polisi na kwa lelo kutala pola Mcharo timbi na ikuri shenzala Gari pena dola ni mwa 20 chapu Tingo walanda pochika ngaba kutove na mapi Na lelo ushiku violence of mona balechula kuno na chipampafu Mamoni abota baba no lusetedi ashidi kama baby la nempofu Bali wotu fuko twandala mabati kwa basala kunsala tule tulama Gata tulile bulu weni shini bondo Echa mipaishta shinde kapala mafi Yeso atile pokeni mulenga Wame pelo lukombo pokeni mulwe Neso basani na shesu wile kama twisi Miala teva nesu wabo Wakutambika poka chuma chove Wushiku wakusala wikalaba teva nove Eva tu pele feki kondomo Mafuan plandi muchalo moni kondomo Can't you feel for mother Zambia, where you are, sure. If you forever to sit walila, mule tu vele all the same. Do you honestly understand? The great was when we chose you. Can they compare material to bring to us that for a lifetime? Ela monarchy, fight by man stance. Can get the chosen ones, Dole Boutique, Kale production. Ela, we bow. Where I go, Zambia? The sound is shaking my brain. Yes, I tell you, Pokeni Mulenga, Wami Peno Lukombo, Pokeni Mulwe. The Shavasani, Nasesu, we look at my question, I like them, I miss you. Tambika Boga Chuma Chove, we should go out Sala, we can have a Teva Nove. Ever to pay the Peki Condom, of one plan, the Muchalo Morning Condom. Can't you feel for Mother Town, where you are, you are. If a forever to Chitwalila, Mule to Mele say. Do you honestly understand? The same was what we told you. Can they compare materials to bring to us? Eva Yaba to pay your Mutua Bola, Amakondo Mufimbi Fimbi, Tatuanaba, Kabakupas Katapoka, Shete, but Pakuvota, we Galabo, Kashete Monafie, Teacher Vale Mutusha, Dalapola, Number Monafio, Vale Mushupa, Noveyu Monafio Baku, Shabaku, Mushapaku, Elobaku Bonfia, what is in a Guadalino, Kutala Pola, Mutaroti.
Good evening to our viewers, to those that are waking up, to those that are going to bed, or those that are enjoying a full day. Good evening here in Zambia. That is music by a group called NAC Unity, and they were the campaign songs we were not meant to be listening to, that we were listening to secretly. And I'm just really proud of them because they're from Zambia. So that, for me, is an exciting element. They were the brave people. Only the brave come from Zambia, is what I say. But welcome to my guests. Some of them are experiencing some technical difficulties, but don't worry, we're going to get that sorted as we go along. So good evening, Mr. Hermann, if you can get me. All right, I'll move on to Mr. Dennis. Good evening. I know you have had a busy day. You were already on the radio this morning. It was a really good conversation. Enjoyed that. So good evening.
Good evening to you. Good evening, viewers.
Okay, and cousin Skeeter. Now this is the funny part. I always say cousin Skeeter. Are we ever going to know your real name? I know. I think it's Chimwemwe. if my memory serves me.
Yeah, my full names are Chimwemwe Banda. Isaac Chimwemwe Banda.
Mr. Banda. All right. Yes, and lastly, Mr. Frank, how are you doing? The choir master, chairperson.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. And good evening, Wakwetu, and praise singers everywhere.
And praise singers everywhere. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to try and get Mr. Hermann back. I hope that we can get to hear him as the evening goes along. So I think straight in, I know that for a lot of us during the campaign season and this time last year, we were a little braver than we had been probably in the last 6 months. We knew that, okay, this is safe time to speak. And I think our memories, especially social media memories, are getting very interesting because you can pick up some of the things that we were doing. But right into it, I would be asking, what is the nature or the definition of a praise singer? About Frank, as a choir master, what defines a choir master or a praise singer?
There's only one aspect that I was looking at. The time to Aliku opposition, people never considered us as praise singers. That's one thing. That's a different aspect. But the moment we got into power, after forming government, because we spoke so loudly, there was a period when there was that breakdown in everything. There's a moment when media could not even publicize any of us that could speak over Wamdalaba HH. And if you speak of UPND, it's either you not even be given that leeway to speak or even to be televised anywhere. That's where we had the big problems because most people thought we were suppressed. But just after my elections, we won the elections on the 12th of August. And it's like now the PF had no longer that legal authority. For how the strength and the power in the other side of the camp was. And whoever spoke highly of the UPND, especially by President Hakainde Hichilema, kumwitati nomba nikwaya master over praise. You know, so the name came immediately after we won elections. This name, Yawa Praise Singers, was not there before we won the elections. It was there just after we won elections, because they wanted to liken us to people that were just praising somebody, regardless because of whatever he has done. But Nilumbani Madoda type, regardless that person has done bad, he hasn't done anything. But our duty was there, like we were only there to praise that individual, since we are more affiliated or more concerned as people that supported the UPND. But for us, as praise, I think as they call us now, we are even comfortable with that name. We are even very comfortable. And I'm a very proud praise singer. In fact, a very proud choir master. If there's a song that I want to lead,
it's very clear.
Yes,
it's very clear from your TikTok videos. It's one of those things where we begin laughing each time I watch it. Before I've even heard what you're saying, I'm already laughing. But one of the things, like you've pointed out, I think, you know, I always think that a praise singer is a graduation from a keyboard. I think we're being called keyboard warriors. So we graduated from keyboard warriors to praise singers when we were open. So I think there's that element. But Cousin Skeeter, what do you think is unique about us as praise singers? Are we objective? Are we? Because I feel like we're not as danderheads as, you know, in the previous regime where for us we're very objective.
Yeah, that's true. I think on our end, what really makes us stand out from the previous guys is we're objective. You see, we call it as it is. If it's wrong, we say, you know what, guys, this is wrong. This is not right. This is not the change we voted for. If it's correct, we applaud, we sing. I have it with me all the time. You see, if something is done that is amiss, I'll just say, guys, our manifesto says this. Why are we going this direction? Because you see, if we keep lying to the president, he might end up like the other guy. You see, the other guy was not being told the truth. People would just say, yes, boss, this is correct, this is what. But we say it, we call it as it is, as it should be. We're objective. Nobody is expecting anything. We call it as it is. If it's correct, we say, okay,
and I think I love.
We applaud. Say,
I
yes,
really love. I really love that objectivity, like you've put across, because I think it's making, especially the ministers, accountable to what they do. Yes. I think in the last couple of days we've had the Ministry of Sports confusion, and we are not siding with what is wrong. We are insisting to say, look, if it's wrong, it's absolutely wrong. I think that's one thing I love about the praise singer element. But Dennis, are we, as praise singers, are we position hungry? Are we positioning ourselves for government jobs?
No, not at all. You see, colleagues, this country was reduced to the lowest of mediocre leadership that anyone could ever imagine. And how we stand out from the cadres of the previous regime is that they were doing it solely for the purpose of benefiting economically from that government of the day. And it is unfortunate that even the leader then fell into that trap and felt that whoever it is that worshipped him deserved to be rewarded, and rewarded not from his personal pocket, but taxpayers' money. We could see the appointments that were being made there. I could cite a few. We had colleagues, guys that we once called colleagues, guys that we stood the same vision with of seeing a better country, just get bought and turn around and start singing praises, and you know, it went on like that. So my point really is, in addition to what my colleagues have said, we are a different crop of cadres, okay? Being called praise singers. I mean, it even extended to being called what? Useful idiots. And I love that title. Yeah. I'm a useful idiot that is going to fight for the betterment of this country. So we stand out distinct in the sense that even prior to all these elections, we've always been doing independent things. We've been doing our works, others have been doing their business. So because of that, we are not dependent on whichever politician is there in power on a given day. Ours is basically to serve the country the best way that we can, which is offering checks and balances to the government of the day. Now, the incumbent government right now is one that a person like me has personally pushed for from 2015 when they brought in that gentleman from Chama. And the fact that I've been able to do that, I just find it duty bound to make sure that I am there to see to it that they win, okay? That they deliver according to expectations. Now, to achieve that, it doesn't mean I'm just there to say yes, 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 yes to everything that they are doing. Where they go wrong, I would come out strongly and say this is unacceptable. I don't even care how they would feel about me, but my conviction would have spoken to say this is not right and things ought to be in this particular manner. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a great contribution. Mr. Hermann, can you get us?
Yes. Yeah. We are back in the Champions League now.
Well, that indeed. What do you think? Yeah. Are you happy to be called a useful idiot?
It depends on who's calling me a useful idiot. If I tell the person is a useful idiot, then they don't qualify to call me a useful idiot.
You are a very useful idiot.
Okay, but looking at where we are coming from, you know, how we suffered to get the UPND into power. So I'll gladly be called a useful idiot. If I thought it means, if I'm called a useful idiot and we ushered in President Hakainde Hichilema in power, then so be it. So it's better to be called a useful idiot with Edgar Lungu not in power and HHP in power. Yeah, so that's that.
I think that's a really good one. I'll go straight in. What do you remember? What is the legacy for you, Mr. Hermann? What legacy stands out of the PF?
The fire trucks. Because I was so passionate about, I was so...
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. Every time I saw those $42 million junk, $42 million junk, my heart used to grind, it caught my heartstrings to, I used to feel, if I thought I had my way, I would have slapped whoever authorized those that junk. Yeah, so
and I think to add icing on the cake, the other part that really used to get me agitated about those fire trucks is when the First Lady goes to America and brings more junk. And junk on top of junk on top of junk, and
I think they used to take us for granted. So it's good readers to bad rubbish, and whatever they deserve, whatever they are going through. So yeah, basically that.
Absolutely, Mr. Chimwemwe, what do you remember? What legacy stands out for you under the PF, or what is their legacy for you? So I think you're muted. Mr. Chimwemwe, I think you're muted. Check your mic.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was saying they downplayed the importance of education in our economy, in our nation. You see, when an educated person is in a system, my mic is very much. It's okay. Can you get?
Yeah, we can get.
Yes, we can get you.
Can you get me now?
We can get you. I can get you loud and clear.
Yeah, so I was saying that they downplayed the role of education in our economy. Okay, in the sense that you see, when you have an educated person in system, when you have an educated person in a system, even the next person that comes in would want to make that system more efficient. But then if you bring in a dunderhead, a person who... Okay, so if you bring in a person that is a grade 9 or a grade 12. Go to quasi-government parastatals like ZESCO. You bring in somebody just because he's got a surname that is related to this person. How do we expect them to sort out the load shedding issues in our nation if this person cannot think? So as a result, it's like as a nation, we're hustling in reverse. We're going backwards. But then if you bring in a technocrat, somebody who has an idea of what they're doing, they know where it hurts or where things are going bad. They rectify the situation and make it better. Meaning even the people that were aspired to take over that person's position who wants to better that service that that person provided before. We had cadres that had downplayed calling a degree just a paper. But as of 2 weeks ago, we now understood why they called the degree just the paper. There are people are being chucked out of parliament like no man's business. We are back with the technocrats now. The nation is being run by people who've got brains, people who are able to think ahead, to plan ahead. I think the whole legacy of the PF on my part is that was a kleptocratic governance system. The most inept people, the most underqualified people. That should never happen in the history of Zambia. If we should have a law, let nobody from Chawama ever stand for the next 10 years.
I think that would be a very good one. I'm saved by the roads of Chawama. I think I would be saved by the roads. I think you just reminded me that entire period just felt like we were being led by Chijombo Chapasala. That's all I saw. No matter how you saw somebody, all you felt was, we're just being led by Chijombo here, because that became the sign of a political person. As long as they addressed Mudi Chachini Chijombo and the work suit that they liked donning themselves in, it was really reduced to authentics, just the look rather than the grit of what a politician probably should be. So I think that's a really good contribution. Mr. Frank, what for you is the legacy that you have of the PF?
I think you've even made it very more clear. Chijombo. If there's a moment in life that I hate so much, I reached a level of thinking if politics were drained down to idiots like that, I would rather be a Satanist. I even reached a level of saying, if this is a level of politics, I would rather be a Satanist and bewitch all of them. They made us think to some point or to some extent that politics were down to fools just like that. Now, one outstanding thing that I always love about politics, to some point, by the way, I'm a very strong believer. I'm a Christian. And I'm one person who's an elder in the church. If there's one moment, immediately after doing politics, they started telling me politics are not for you. Yaba Majombo. It's for the dirty people, to a point where those people that would drain politics down the lane, and all those things. I said, no. Why should I let somebody with insult, with a low class level of thinking, without even a percentage of humanity, and I said, no, I'll never stop politics. If it means the church has to expel me, it's okay, but I'll never stop politics. Not until we put certain things to order. But what was the most disgusting of all things is being led by people that had no brains in an hour. That can't never. If there's a regime that I'll never want to bring back, Jumbo, Chiweksuti, Katrika, Chiacha Green Chida. So I would rather now have a Satanist, then I come and bewitch all of them.
I think I echo your sentiments, because I think we got to a point where you were frustrated, but you were frustrated inward. And I think that's the worst type of thing, where you're frustrated inward and you can't speak out. And for a lot of people that probably spoke out, the repercussions were really bad. I think we have a few people who are now in government or in different positions working now who were chucked out of their positions. I know of a lot of policemen that were moved from Lusaka maybe, and they're sending it to, and I don't know why they were sending Northwestern Province. I always ask myself, is Northwestern Province the bin of the entire Zambia? Why were they taking people to Northwestern Province? And so for me, it's a lot of the tribalism as well, the subtle and the very obvious, because the very obvious was when they say Tonga's this and that, but the subtle was when they sent people to Northwestern Province as a punishment. For me, that was really, it was one of those things that irked you, and you looked at it and you just said, anyway, one day, and I thank God that the one day came sooner than later, because I think for a lot of people, the patience element was coming to an end. Mr. Dennis, what for you is the PF legacy? What do you remember from the PF legacy?
Allow me to echo what has been said by Cousin Skeeter already with regards to education being rubbished in this country in that era than any other before. We had a situation where professionals were so demoralized, okay? It didn't even make sense to advance one's studies, okay? Because then we had cadres, ignorant cadres for that matter, who took center stage of making economic decisions that preceded any professional recommendations. Can you imagine that? Okay. So for me, really, what stands out the most is I had a problem with the president himself. Unfortunately, one thing that stood out the most is can you imagine having a whole leader who is supposed to rely on statutory institutions like the Auditor General's Office, the Financial Intelligence Center, and all these law enforcement agencies. Now imagine that whole president reducing their reports to Mfwiti level. That just sent me away, honestly. And you see, that's why to this date, I feel if someone calls me a praise singer, they are being economical on me. I'd rather be called a useful idiot. And I'm proud of it because I made sure I was a part of that team that dedicated their lives to getting this country from the pits of mediocrity to a much more credible leadership, okay, that has values which include accountability and transparency as the hallmarks of good governance, not what we had back in the days. No. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much. I think the other element that I just remembered was when you talked about education and reducing education, or even just reducing people's mindset to simply music. For me, that part equally used to irritate me, because that was just, I used to say and people would laugh when I would say it, but it was just so irritating that people were reliant on songs, and that songs began to drive a narrative, and people could vote for a song. And as far back as 2016, I think most of you here that are close Facebook friends, we were irritated by just the music that people were voting, and were saying you voted for a song. And at first people would know that but it became very evident that people voted for a song, and quite prophetic that it said during a reverse. And like you say, we were going backwards. I think in retrospect, we were literally going backwards, and we were digging ourselves deeper in a lot of problems. Any other elements of PF legacy that anyone can think of, other than the ones that we have talked about?
Yeah, no, I think we basically talk about the same things. These guys brought in a culture where, for a citizen to get close to thriving, you needed to start chanting slogans. You needed to participate in scandalizing those that were perceived to have to belong to the opposition, and that was the only way you're going to have your bread battered. And that is what they were proudly calling what robust multi-sectoral empowerment.
And I've just remembered the silly empowerments that they were giving, and you'd sit there and ask yourself, they said empowerment, then they went and gave these characters. I think these are the people that you've gone to empower, and there are serious people in businesses that would need this empowerment, and you've jumped all these people. And I think added on to that, the irritation that I equally had was the disregard for youth, and making youth puppets chikuluna bami kulunganya bami peranganya shake ngani 100 kwacha ngama 50 kwacha, and they take you wherever they want to take you. I think that for me that really used to irritate me, and it's very evident. Like you're talking about Chawama. I think Chawama. Okay, to be honest, I think with Chawama I just have a big problem, because Chawama is like headquarters of moko-mokoness. You'd have all your mothers baba kulungani kapa ground. Now afuali kwa wafureshe fitenge wale wengishamuli bus watu wale kwa airport. Then you ask them, Mufola Shinga, no one tells you. For that foolishness, okay, we're waiting for the president. They give them 50 kwacha a day and in Shima. Now, when you look at the, it's so embarrassing that we were reduced to that. Come again?
I'm saying, why for everything?
Yeah, if you take everything, and that's it. So it's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Allow me to go back to issue of empowerment.
Yes.
Apart from that, before we go to empowerment, the other aspect that really drew me way too away from them was burning money anyhow. We reached a level where money had no value. I've never seen that in my whole entire life.
Oh my, I forgot that one.
So I would reach a level of thinking, maybe to Zimbabwe, where we reach a level, kushta bread kuya na kasaka kandalama. That was too much, man.
Absolutely, Mr. Hermann. I beg your pardon, Dennis. I think Dennis, you were speaking earlier on.
Yes, I was just trying to amplify on the aspect of empowerment. In this country, I think over the years we have institutions like Citizens Economic Empowerment Commission. Then we also have the Development Bank of Zambia. I think these were tools or vehicles that were established to, assist in financing some of these projects by our local people. But then what used to happen there is that it is only politically connected persons who were getting loans there, and they're not even paying back. And for this one, I can promise you, if it means me doing a loan protest to State House, with the passage of time, some of these people just have to be, prosecuted or whatever means of recoveries that can be instituted. I remember when I think that was the last month when Honorable Margaret Manakato was minister, and when she just left the ministerial position as finance minister, and there's this parliamentary committee on parastatal bodies, and they were looking at DBZ. Chimweme, you are from the banking sector. They mentioned that 60% of the loans disbursed by DBZ were non-performing. Then that should only tell you how is that institution going to survive. And some of these people are even known people who got colossal sums of money, who have been running businesses that have been supported by government, but still never bothered to pay a dime. And all this information would come through in the Auditor General's report and other parastatal body reports, and no one just cared to do anything about it. Okay? And then the next thing, they would always boast about no infrastructure development. For me, it was really a sick joke. We have a lot of strategic roads in this country that have been neglected. Okay? We have roads on the Kapepe. If you go to Kitwe, go to Ndola, the roads are a sorry sight. There's potholes right in the middle of town, right in CBD. And yet they were here in Lusaka busy cutting roads through people's verandas in Chawama, and they're claiming, no, we are doing roads. I think that was absolute mediocrity for me. I submit.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that element was just so embarrassing. Mr. Chimwemo, you had something to say?
Yeah, just in addition to what Chairman Way said, you see, the time I was leaving the bank, we had the banks, most banks really, had stopped lending to civil servants. Then you see what happens when you stop lending to civil servants due to a non-performing loan, not by the borrower, but by the institution that has an MOU with the bank. you see, it pulls money out of the system. As a result, that also affects now directly the amount of kwacha chasing the dollar and other forex in the economy. But these are people who do not understand the relationship between these two things. To them, as long as they see money, it is fine. Now, how do you get somebody who cannot think and relate what that is going to do to the economy? Few months prior to the elections, that was like today is actually 363 days from when we voted. We're 2 days shy of a year. They introduced the debt swap, a system, I don't know who thought of that, a system that was not economically feasible whatsoever. But you see, when you try to advise them, but due to the nature of the party that you are aligned to, they couldn't hear. Those are the type of people that you tell, say, listen, there's a snake this side. They would rather go and see the snake for themselves, just so people can say, you see, and that is what happened. Went straight into the ditch.
It was just so embarrassing because, you get to the month end and you go to the cash machine. Do you remember that we were only getting 20 kwachas?
Exactly.
From your cash machine, and you're walking away with money. You feel so stupid as you walk away with a bundle of money that you know is not worth its its value in size. But I think the other thing that also I'm reminded of is the irritation where they keep insisting that they had this infrastructural development going on, and I kept thinking, look, you didn't do us a favor. This was your job. It's our money, So to even claim and say, well, there's infrastructure development, I'm the one that did it. I don't see any infrastructure development that is concrete, apart from, I don't know what hospital is that. I think there's just the hospital, and again, that's a military, I think, hospital. So even that one, when they are claiming certain things, and they claim grants like is it the flyover bridge? I think those were grant operated ones, but they would still claim that they did these works. So I think moving on, we're really lucky. I think we're really lucky. And as a Christian, for me, I just think we're really blessed. I think God just knew to say, this is the right time to remove these people. And it was equally a good thing for us as Zambians also to look at the worst and to become a lot more pragmatic and objective when we're choosing our leaders. Because I think we got so used to just choosing a song. We know Manambazi, and the fact that it looked like they were at the grassroots of the really, at the low end, Bakaponya and all sorts of things. It looked like they were doing the poor a big favor, but I think that was to the detriment of all of us. But I think going forward, we have now about 12 months, close to the 12 months of the UPND. And we have seen so many successes, and it's a learning curve. Changes are always a learning curve. But what I would equally ask is, what New Dawn successes stand out for you, Mr. Hermann?
First and foremost, I think I would say is we have a leader who we've moved from bottom of the barrel leadership to top-notch leadership. And the kind of leadership which we have right now is a leadership which will help change the paradigm shift of how our mindsets are. In the long run, I think President Hakainde Hichilema will help us as a citizenry and as a country to change our way of thinking, because he espouses a competent leadership, leadership which is forward-thinking, a leadership which is in touch with reality. Previous leadership have lost touch with reality, and as a consequence, we landed ourselves in unsurmountable debt of $17 billion, and landed ourselves in the problems we are in right now. So with the strides they have made, they've showed that we can be able to employ thousands of our people every year if at all we put our minds towards using our resources, diligently and with an upright mindset. Basically, that for me.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Frank, what successes stand out for you?
For me, firstly, it's a leadership quality that we see in Hakainde Hichilema as the president of Zambia now. And these are some things that are evident when we see him employing 30,000 teachers, 12,000 nesters. In a long time, in the previous regime, money hasn't been possible to employ such kind of numbers. That was a thing that was brushed in our heads to say, no, this is impossible for you to do such. But in a shortest possible time, within a period of a year, the president and the new Dawn government has employed over 40,000 people around the country. Now, the question comes back to one thing. How has he managed to do all these things? Is he doing magic? Is this president that we've elected now a magician? No. Money has always been there. Money has always been there. But the problem that I see with people that were in the previous regime, they would rather empower so many girlfriends. Those magelo yakumbali hapa, wakuma NSC na chani, flashing money was the norm of the day.
In Dubai.
And exactly. Somebody doesn't do anything, but let's have a boast that, I go to Dubai. I know. So what? What is Dubai? What have you brought from Dubai apart from bringing shame to Zambia? Now, we have a leader that is showing us that leadership is more based on accountability. That's aspect number one. That's the only thing that I love about President Hakainde Hichilema. The leadership, whatever you do, whatever office you serve in this country should be accountable to the public people. Because you should be mindful, whatever we do or whatever we deal with is public funds. Now, you can never handle public funds and expect to report to yourself. I'll hand over my result to myself. How nikuchuko or nikuchawama mankarira zona. These are problems because we have the mindset issue where people thought it's normal to do certain things in a normal way. But for me, he has already shown he's an accountable leader and is ready to serve with the people. Just this 1 year, what is worth $100 billion now. But our president is safe and comfortable to be a Kasama resident. State House, but he's already saying, no, you people, I live a comfortable life, even way back. What is a 20,000? What is a 10,000? So for me, one thing that stands now, the new Dawn government has made most of the impossible things that any leader would do in Africa within a period of 5 years. Any governance leader that we have ever heard and seen, no, over a period of 5 years that he served as a leader, Ali Ngishako may be this kind of people. But our leader today has shown us that within a year, just within a year, anything is possible so long as we have a people that is focused, a people that is determined. Mind you, I'll never stop saying this word. Governance is a collective responsibility. Governance is a collective responsibility. No matter how much clever people may be, but we should ever know that even in a single unit of governance, which is a home structure, it's a collective responsibility. Here where I am, I discuss certain things with my wife. It's not one party participatory democracy. No. I ask certain things, baby, what can we do here? What is the way forward? And that woman will also give me some piece of advice to how we should govern our home. Now, even at national level, Zambia can only grow if we have that kind of a mindset. Not if a minute you vantu vapasa achawe vatibera kunyumba iva upu vachabe. But Bali alikuchalo Bali kuchalo. Hey.
Absolutely. After that, and you've just reminded me, because when I look back, all I remember is I still ask myself, why were only the police being employed? The police, the soldiers, You never saw anyone else being recruited. It was like we were entering a war. Join Russia extension army. Up to today, I always, I'm boggled as to why we're only recruiting these police and the police and the army. But that is such a poignant thing. For me, that's been equally something that has really stood out, is the employment rates that have gone up. Equally, the education system, where people are now in school.
You know that over the past 3 years we've been buying two. So the budget, the Zambian budget was so much focused to Amaria. We were always buying either Matia Gasi, Mindeke. So you ever question yourself, are we going into a war? Imagine.
Absolutely. I was just going forward saying the other thing that has really stood out for me is the free education from the grade 1 to grade 12. I think that's been that's a big thing. I know there's still lots of numbers of children still out of the loop because maybe they can't afford uniforms and stuff like that. But I think that education element for me has been such a big thing. And I'm hoping that forwards an element like
Yeah.
Hi, Molo, you're muted.
Yeah, she's frozen.
Okay. So anyway, basically on my part, I'm sure we're going to get her. On my part, what has really stood out for me is how professional the president is. If you look around him, the people that are found with him, the nature of their qualifications, these are technocrats. These are people who know how to do their jobs. He has brought back, reintroduced professionalism.
Hello, I do apologize. Seems like Zamto decided to give us a lesson.
Okay.
Or why do I feel like whoever is at Zamto is a former PF, is a PF member? Hello, you can get me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right, I do apologize for that.
It seems
like we just lost Zamtel.
Hello,
half of our.
Can you? Yeah, we can get you.
Yes, I can get you.
Can get you.
You can go ahead.
Who's supposed to run it? Is it me?
All right, Mr. Hermann.
It was Cousin Skeeter.
Or it was Cousin Skeeter speaking, or he's frozen, or he's back now. Cousin Skeeter, you can continue.
Oh, okay. This is terrible. Can I go ahead? Hi, Mwelo,
Oh,
can I go ahead?
I think now I can't get you clearly. Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so I was saying before, we're cut off by the network. I was saying, you see, the current regime has reintroduced professionalism. Okay. I think the network.
Oh, bless.
Can you all get
I think the
me
network is really bad. We're getting you, but you're cutting on and off.
It's very bad.
All right, I'll come back to you, Mr. Dennis.
Yeah, so I was saying, you
I
see,
think I
the
hadn't spoken
president
to
has
you as yet.
reintroduced professionalism. There's no room for cadres anymore. The people doing the jobs today are qualified for the jobs that they are doing. You can go to any office today. Yeah. The president is there. He's made sure people who are in that office are qualified for that job. Can you get me? Hi, can you get me now?
Yes, we're getting you now, loud and clear.
Hello?
I
can get you.
God. I have to go.
I think we've lost him for the moment. Mr. Dennis, I think I hadn't gotten to you as yet, where I was asking what are some of the highlights for you in these first couple of months that we've had the UPND? Have we lost him as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my mic was off. I'm back on now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying, I think for me, there's quite a number of things that I've considered to be very positive insofar as the first 12 months of the UPND government are concerned. I love numbers. I eat numbers. So for me, when I'm seeing numbers taking an upward trend, for the good reasons that is, it makes me happy. It gives me hope that indeed we're moving in the right direction. Allow me to just itemize a few things that really speak passion to my heart with regards the last 12 months of the UPND in power. The Zambia Revenue Authority is exceeding collection targets. That's a plus for me. The last report was indicating about 2.1 billion surplus up and above what they had initially budgeted to collect. We cannot ignore the CDF. I think the president is passionate about a decentralized system. He wants constituencies in various districts to be able to run the economies there. And this is why we saw a big jump from 1.6 million allocation in prior years to a 25.7 million, which I think is very, very commendable. I know right now the absorption rate is a bit slow, but it's understood because the shift is just too huge, and it's going to pose some administrative challenges because it's just for the first. But where we are going, issues are going to be ironed out. It's going to be running smoothly, and I hope that we can even increase allocation depending on the needs of these constituencies. And then again, just the other day, I was reading a report in a Daily Mail from the ZDA. Hello, are we together?
Yes, I can get you.
We were struggling to get you, but now we can get you.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, so I was saying, I was reading a report from the ZDA in one of these government newspapers where they were saying we have improved in non-traditional exports. So this is basically non-mineral exports. We had last year around the same period, that is half year, we had exported of just about $930 million. And then this time around, it's taken an upswing to 1.1 billion, which I believe is a very positive stride. When we talk about FDI, just the other day, the president was commissioning a massive nickel mine in Northwestern Province. And the moment we start seeing some of these investments coming in, rest assured unemployment is going to be reducing. Rest assured ZRA is going to enhance on their tax collections, and it's going to be good for the GDP of the country as a whole. Yeah. Another thing that we cannot ignore is the issue of the IMF. Since the UPND came in power, I think they've made tremendous progress with regards to this IMF move. And I'm glad to how responsive even these debtors have become in the past few months, where we even got some suspension in terms of interest payments on our debt. And this has given us room to perhaps reallocate monies that could have gone towards debt service into other key economic sectors. And I think this is where even the issue of the 22 billion supplementary budget was coming in, because about 19 billion of that money was basically saving towards what we should have paid as interest. Then there's a lot of orderliness in the way things are being done, like Cousin Skeeter mentioned. No one can just wake up and do as they please. Everyone is being held accountable. And one thing about the president that I also like is that he has been encouraging private sector participation in the economy. He doesn't want an economy that is going to be run by government alone. And he knows that for us to get to a level that we want, it is imperative that we incorporate the private sector. And this is why that platform, I don't know what it's called, was established as a platform where such engagement be held.
PPP.
Exactly. Thank you very much. So basically, for me, fundamentals are aligning very well, and we hope to see more. But of course, it goes without saying that there are certain things that I would love to be worked on by the government, which basically border on production, encouraging production in manufacturing, be it agro-processing. We are in an era now where the globe is moving towards this green energy, where they want to phase out these diesel issues. We've got the minerals here now. We've got the cobalt, we've got the manganese, we've got the copper, and perhaps all the components that are needed to be used in making parts for these things. So we should work towards creating industries locally where we can produce some of these items and export them, not as raw material, but perhaps with some value addition. Because now I'm looking at providing yet again employment at every point in the particular value chain of a given product. So yeah, and then on the CDF, it is my prayer also that they may enhance perhaps on capacity building. Because I'm thinking there's so much money lying in coffers in various constituencies, and some of them don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So I think before that money is even disposed for anything, we need to speed up on capacity building. It needs to involve consultants. I don't know how they want to do it, but just have to do it so that once that money is released, it is used for intended purposes. We don't want to have stories. So yeah, basically that's it from me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Also,
thank you so much. I do apologize for the network. I'll go to Cousin Skeeter.
Yeah, so just in addition to what Dennis just said on the setting up of industries, to promote agro-processing and taking advantage of the green economy future that heading towards. I think it's also imperative that the government should also make the process of entrepreneurs setting up industries less stringent. They should make it more friendly.
Absolutely.
The way the system is right now, it is frustrating. You'll be there for 2, 3 days, 4 days. you know, you're tired, you're fatigued. Eventually, just the whole system drains you. We need to come up with a system where these things can be done remotely from anywhere. I do not have to personally leave my office to go all the way to ZPPA or to ZDA to access a document or to have a document signed. We need people to be comfortable, to be able to do things conveniently from wherever they are. That way, we'll have so many people, so many players, so many employers, so many employees. You see, we have so much money in circulation that at some point there'll be no need for all this, Boma Langanepo, because people will be too busy getting things done by themselves, that the government will only be needed to supplement where they do not make up for. That's my contribution.
Absolutely. I think that's a great addition, because I know it's very frustrating for certain businesses to run, and sometimes you don't even have the capacity for some of the expectations that these regulatory bodies have. I've heard of you want to start something on a home base, and somebody tells you need to go to the manufacturer's organization, to whoever and whoever. And at the end of the day, when you look at how much you're spending just to open your company, where are you going to get the money to invest in your own company if you're spending so much on registration or on whatever it is that you're supposed to pay in different departments? That system is a very unfriendly system. So I do hope that we get more, like you said, stringent lines. Mr. Hermann?
Yeah, I have an addition,
what do you look forward to?
I'm looking, especially with the coming of the SME ministry?
Yes.
I want to see a situation where I don't have to pay over my nose if at all I want to open my startup. For example, when I was upgrading from a business name to a limited company, I had to cough up about from between 5 to 10,000 kwacha. But I'm just a startup, like I don't have enough funds. So the minister in charge of the small business enterprise and SMEs, they need to come up with a way in which they can get rid of these gray areas, which are making it difficult for small time businesses like us to get into the business arena. So if I thought they could come up with a small figure, let's say just a small percentage. I know Pakra can come up with a certificate for small businesses where I just pay either 1,000 or the whole year, instead of having to pay for 10,000 just to set up before I even make anything. So the minister who's in charge of that needs to make sure that if I thought they are to spur small business growth, they need to make sure the cost of doing or setting up a business is low, because we are struggling with that. And also
absolutely.
And also the entry, like as if I thought they are to spur small business growth again, I don't need to have workers' compensation certificate for me to supply government. You have all sorts of certificates you need to have for you to just qualify to be able to be a supplier in government, and that is also a hindrance for small businesses to grow. So basically, that for me on the business side, if at all we are to spur entrepreneurial growth, they need to make the cost of doing business very low. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Frank, any recommendations for our new Dawn government?
For me, one of the most critical aspects that we, as a group, we have been looking at is the issue to do with people that have been in these ministries for a long time. Regardless of how much Tukachinja ama governments, the only one thing that will always come to stand and will always be there forever is we may change governance. The governance is just a top-up cream. ilenga to enact certain policies that we want as a people. But the one major problem that we should look at is how many people serve in these local ministries. These are the people frustrating us. I want to be very open with you as Zambia. Me, as my name Frank it is, so that certain things are made light and very clear. I'll give you an example. Kuma NRCs. Let's look at the passport office. Why do I have to queue up just to get an NRC? Is printing a problem in Zambia? Printing a document. So there are people that have made this process look like they are difficult process. They need to be fired. That's why for me, I'm appealing even to Bali, the president, to pull up the socks. Certain individuals don't need these officers. You know, we've frustrated a lot of people per ground. Balandat Kapange Nama Cooperative, people would make it look like Kupanga Cooperative needs you to have $1 billion in your account, which is wrong. Now, at the end of the day, they are coming back, complaining at community level, saying, is this government working? Cooperative, but frustrate. But there are people that are seated at local government at the council there. We have people that are seated in this local government like NCC, ZPPA, and you know, EIZ. Why should it take the government of the day, who's the president and the cabinet, to enact a law to say MOBA ZPPH tenif? That is not making sense. Me, as an engineer, I would rather I enact certain things that would be beneficial to the ground. Let's take for granted, like Toyamach Tulika. If you go in Mpika, as far as the village Mwach Tulika, or Kwana Bwalia Chiombo, some people form a cooperative, Kwana Bwalia Chiombo. The village is far miles away from Papa Boma. NCC.
Yeah.
You know, so these are certain things we have made so very difficult for people to access. Not because NCC is something so difficult to make, no, or to have it. No, a certificate you're in nearby is no. But there's a syndrome in our Zambian culture thinking about any government document. For me, that's a syndrome I'll never want to relate to life in one. My heart sometimes bleed when I go. You know, those are things that would make my heart bleed. Laminator hapa next door yala bomba, you know. So we have an attitude with people that have been employed in government. I think there would be, if government would do a system where they would reshuffle people, even a year, like Mukitwe, where we are on the Copper Belt, Nganimulusaka, along the line of rail, Mbombi, Kuvubwi, you know, so that they begin thinking otherwise. Because these are the people frustrating the masses of the people that are busy voting per ground. And at the end of the day, Bala Mwena Mokateka and the governance that they put in place, yet a few individuals want to benefit. I'll give you quite a good example of some people, like my officers Yamoyo Mbona. Waasanga abantu union, electoral representative abantu. Number union, electoral representative abantu, the people that work for union, they've built suddenly, but they're so huge. Nice, you know, and you begin thinking, union, money. You know, that's the mindset. People think when we serve government officers, money. And I think that's an attitude I would love to see. Yeah, well, that's why I recommended if there's one person who are Sylvia Masebo. So recently, if we had seen Sylvia Masebo, the Minister of Health, Bale Pitanama institutions, Ngabam and some nurses somewhere, but no, she's not respecting us. she's not what. But how many times have we gone in those institutions as government institutions? Ukusanga nesi nati kalipa up some point where a patient is almost dying, nesi alipe pafoni, you know? Those are things that pain me. Umutima ineola kalipa. Why should I keep a nurse who's ready? Kulaba nanko balefwa yokuingila bu nurse, yet tena lefwa kuba pafoni. Kashi, let her be discharged. Jakale kalaka munama bando fya umfu ikakunganda. Limbi kunchitole na tatayawama. You know? So those are sectors I wanted the government to put on pressure. These ama directors, ma ministries, monsom, be it education, be it SME, Fitwachalanda, I've seen Cousins Cake. These are things that we need to look at. If we have to move, these are things that we need to look at. Ule director wabako ministry of SME, you'll find maybe the policies have been made simple. But because SME loan, they want something. Yeah? Now, how are we going to develop? Now and then it's about something, you know? So I think we need to build on a mind of people that are working in government. These officers, they are serving. They are serving for the people. And, you know, I still remember your civics to Alessandro grade 8. You know, a democracy is government by the people and for the people, meaning it's constituted by the people. And it's a government that should work for the people. And if that is not working, then things turn the other way around. That's why we should be very careful, even now as a new Dawn government, to make sure whoever is not serving the people should be fired in these offices. For me, I'm not even apologetic over that matter. Abantu abalechitafya obukopo na kwenda ni grade 12 nishan batamfye ni bali. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. I've recently had to pass through a couple of offices this last week, and it wasn't a good experience. You know, unless you spoke to the boss, then you get things done. But why should I have to go into a boss's office to go and bother him for an issue that you at the bottom should be solving? Which I find very silly, and it's in a lot of our government offices, a lot of the quasi or the Kwango organizations. So it's really unfortunate. And even though the president did spend some time, I think in the last session he had with these leaders, it doesn't seem like it's trickled down to the bottom. And maybe for me, I keep thinking, which is unfortunate because we shouldn't be thinking that way. But each time you go into an office and you're not treated right, you're thinking, are they PF? And are they just trying to frustrate the work of the president? But then you find that this is a culture that has been ingrained. This is what a life. So it might not even be that they are PF. It's just the habit. They want all the time to be fed and given something for them to work, when at the end of the month you're still paying. And you can imagine, because in Zambia, your tax band for people who work is the highest, I hear, in most countries. So if you're paying so much in tax to pay their salaries, then Footing had to ask for a simple job. Again, they charge you on top of that as well. It really irritates you and grates at you. So for me, I really echo that indeed, if we can have more that mindset change trickling down to the grassroots, I hope that actually happens. Any other things that you would want? Yes,
I think one more. I've always thought of, I think the civil service should also introduce the biometric login system. There's a very bad tendency of civil servants only showing up on payday. Their salary should be commensurate with the hours worked.
Absolutely.
There is a system, as the private sector have a system that logs you in immediately. You clock in the morning, and when you leave, we are paid value for our time. That is what should also come in the civil service. That way, maybe they'll be more proactive and people will learn to do their jobs. You go in an office, you find there's a radio playing music, you open the door, you find there's a jacket hanging on a chair, the guy has gone, probably doing his own stuff. You see, we need to change the mindset of people in the civil service. Only that way will it also change the way people view the civil service.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. I hate that jacket with a passion. You know, you walk in and you find, oh, asanga for school and now I think I change ko school na afole ko fiama flat ko very much ko bare enda ko bwangu sana ko school. I find it funny, but it's Hermann. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to add on before we move on to the next topic. Just to echo what Cousin Skeeter said, like what he's saying is hinging on leveraging technology to make our systems efficient. So with the coming of the Ministry of Technology, I hope to see the ministry be proactive in churning out systems which will make our governance system efficient. So I hope Felix Mtati and the people at the ministry are actively engaging Zambian technologists who have been neglected for a very long time, where we opt for people from outside who end up doing useless jobs, when we have people in here who can help us make technologies which will enhance our efficiency. So I hope the Minister Mtati is hard at work leveraging technology to help us move efficiently and govern the people of Zambia well. Because if at all we live, let me just, if at all we say, I give an example of the Ascuda system. You know, we have people here who are capable of making a system which is better than Ascuda, but because we don't have faith and in our own people, we tend to go outside. And kusa sangati, ama systems yonse are down if at all there is an overload. So I hope Mtati bari bombapa bachiteko ifintu fibeko bwi technology wise.
Absolutely.
If you feel,
and I've just seen a comment here by is it? Yeah.
Which
by Mr. Davis.
Again.
So I've just seen a comment here by Mr. Davis Simbai, which is what exactly you're talking about, where things even as simple as paper is blocked. I've always asked myself, this paper is rubbish. I want to make payments, I want to withdraw money, and I can't do it. Why should we be so backward in this time and age? So absolutely, yeah, it's really echoed what you've said.
So it doesn't really make sense. So I do hope, but with the political will which has been shown by President Hakainde Hichilema forming the Minister of Technology, I'm hoping in the next 5 years we'll be singing a different tune about our systems here. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely valid, and I'm just really happy that that's a point that's come across, because I think sometimes we really belittle ourselves and we don't request for excellence or even standards to be improved. We are struggling with internet service at the moment. A couple of minutes ago when we lost network, you can actually tell that this is a Zamtel problem, because even the viewership goes half, or so you can pick up on these things, and we can't be doing such things. I think it's really unfortunate, because even work-wise, you can't work remotely, you can't do what you want to do. So I think the technological element is so important. I will just go through some of the things that are really cardinal, I think, in the last 11 months for the UPND. So we have the free education from grade 1 to grade 12. We have paid equalization fund to all councils. So this is the first time this has been achieved. We have 5,000 students put on bursary loans. This is the first time as well. Payment of retirees has begun happening, and their arrears are being paid. I know a couple are still not yet paid, but I think at least there's been headway through this. There's been a stabilization of the kwacha against foreign currencies, so I think we're able to appreciate this. We are seeing this in the market. It's a little slow, but we're getting there. There's a lot of law and order, as we've talked about, that we're not jumbo anymore. There's a 12% salary increment for civil servants. So they got the 12% increment, and then they're not really upping their work. So I hope they improve based on this. We have a lot of press freedom as well. I think that's another element we haven't talked about. We have freedom of speech. People are able to speak up. Nobody has muzzled our mouths. We have freedom of the judiciary. So we're beginning to see this. A little difficult, but we're seeing this. We've talked about the recruitment of the 30,496 teachers all at once, the 25.7 million CDF, the recruitment of the 11,276 health workers. So there's a lot that we've seen in the last couple of months, and I think it's commendable. I don't think this would have been done by another government. We will be lying to ourselves. I think this has been really commendable. And I think as young people, we should be proud that we're not just praising aimlessly or just because president State House. But I think that was what was happening. As long as have been made and stuff like that. And I hope, like we've discussed, that we do see changes, especially in the civil service. You don't walk into an office wasanga fechi wig or wasanga schooner pension, like you say, the jacket. I think we really need to see a lot of changes, and that is mindset changing, as you've put it across, that if the president has come with this expectation, we should equally be improving. And I think the onus is equally on the ministers. Recently I heard something along the lines that I think this is the Minister of Green Energy. I don't know why I always forget his proper title, but I think this is Engineer Collins, and he's very good at timekeeping. And if he finds that he's gone somewhere and you haven't kept your time, he will do his program and he will leave. And I think those are the levels of excellence that the ministers should equally be showing, and we should equally feel like, all right, because automatically everybody's going to start following what the ministers are doing. So I think it's equally falls back onto the ministers. They really need to pick up the lag, I think, in a lot of ministries. I'll just ask each one of us for our last comments, that whatever you'd want to say as our last comments. So I'll start with Mr. Hermann. What are your last sentiments?
So my last comments would be, this is to all the praise singers out there, like all the END sympathizers. If at all our government has to do well, we need to keep them in check.
Absolutely,
because once people are in the upper echelons of power, there's the realities tend to change. So it's up to us, the praise singers, to keep our leaders in touch with the ground. That is the reality, which is on the ground. Because sometimes they'll be in the upper echelons, which is comfy, and they wouldn't hear what is on the ground. So the onus is upon us to always keep them in check. And as we support, we always offer checks and balances before the opposition does that. We are keeping them in check. That way, we'll make sure that their rule is super and they do what they promised the Zambian people, and they extend their stay in power. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. Mr. Dennis.
Yeah.
Your last remark?
Yeah, I'd love to first of all take Hermann's words as my own. Like I said in the preamble, we were part of the movement, okay, that wanted to change governments, and the very fact that this happened, the responsibility remains on us to also ensure that the government that we delivered actually works to the people's expectations, quality work that is. So let us remain united as praise singers. Let us help the government in whatever ways that we can. Let us keep in touch. Let us learn from each other and disseminate information to the many people who are being fed lies by these propagandists who are very bitter by virtue of having lost an election. So we should not relent. We need to be strong. We need to dismiss whoever wants to think they can step on us and stay focused. This is our country. We are doing a great job, and our children's children will be proud of the work that we are doing. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Cousin Skeeter.
Yeah, so just in addition to what Hermann and Dennis said, let us be honest with our leaders, okay? Let's call it as it is. If they're right, let us applaud them. If we see they're being derailed or if they're going astray, it is our duty, our responsibility to bring them back in check. Let us simplify whatever developments have been done. You see, it's not everybody that understands things the way we would understand it. Okay, let us be able to explain these things to people so they understand. Let us guide people. There's a lot of spinning of information and tarnishing of images out there by the opposition. They want to so much be relevant. It is our responsibility to guide just speak the truth as it is. That way, we'll be creating a system of governance where we're able to hold our leaders in check. Meaning, whoever want to aspire for public office has to bear in mind to say, these guys have me by the long haul. These people are going to put me in check. Am I willing to listen to these guys? Not just you wake up today after you've had 3 bottles of that green bottle, the big one, the one they call something. Then you come and make noise. No, we don't.
Can you leave my bottle alone?
Yeah, that's my.
I was holding it in, thinking, if I know.
No, don't worry. I'm good. Yeah, that was that.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Frank.
No, it's been a pleasant moment, and how I wish Jameson would be added to the national flag of Zambia, because that bottle really did us bad. Whoever would come drunk would be bombos and start beating us up. But however, if there's one thing that you should always know, especially those that have been appointed or given ministry position, us as praise singers will not rally behind the person who lets Tefia wrong. No. Me, I want to be very clear and very pragmatic on these issues. If there's one thing that I'll never stand with, is a wrongdoer. We'll call a spade, and if it means me making a video for you, I'll do that. Whether you hate me or you don't like me, that's none of my business. The issue here is that we want to have a governance system that promotes good checks and balances. Not so long ago, we had a government that would not promote such. If anything went wrong, Kuli MP and anybody within the system would speak. In Shivala movement, they will beat them up. But we thank God we have a new leader in place, and the president has given us the freedom of speech. But we should be mindful. Freedom of speech, and they can use it properly. There are people that want to misuse that freedom of speech. Comic books, so that so but let's be, as praise singers, let's be vigilant. We hear and observe such kind of people in every society. I want to urge all of you, my praise singers, in every society that you live in, not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone will like you. And between those two factors, whatever you do, it may be a very good thing. No matter how carefully you choose your words, Mwelwa, no matter how much careful you choose your words now, they'll always find one single word which is very bad for them. Now, what we should do now is, whatever they say we add up as cream to our life, no kulachita sefa. We should challenge the mulia manonga tamukwe taman, okay, we put it aside. And let's remain focused. Because the only bottom part that we have to do now and help the government of the day to achieve the goal, the goal that we campaigned for, is that we want to see a government that should perform for the people. And for me, that's the bottom line. If it means protecting the government that is doing better, I'll do that. If it means criticizing the government that is not doing that, I'll do that. Because in FNL vote, and beyond that, my vote was never wasted. It was a vote for justice. What I wanted to see is the rule of law equal. Kumuntuli onse. Not to muntu achaibo musalu aikela mujele for 3 years. But yet somebody has stolen millions and, destroyed the lives of the people of Zambia. Ena tawe na kwata immunity. Those are things that I never bargained for. For me, what I want is to see the rule of law work. If you had stolen something, better we have seen people like you remember Egypt, Barack, is it Barack Hussein, the one that was president by that time in Egypt? Because he had committed some atrocity, the president was jailed. Yes, but here we are. We think certain individuals are so superior and so very special. No one is above the law, and nobody should exceed the law. We should be mindful. We are not running the literature to Alessandro school. Here, animal farm, where some animals are more equal than others. No, we are not animals. We are all human beings. We deserve an equity in everything that we do. Whatever happens to me should happen even to a minister, regardless whether they are serving in the past or they are serving in the present. If it means Ngabaluvana, we are urging everyone to stand up and say this is wrong, and we put justice to task. We want to thank you, everyone. My brother Skeka Wachimwemo, Waema, and my brother there. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to more of this, so that at least we do the praises together. Us, the owners, that is our duty.
Hallelujah. Thank you so much. I think this has been a pleasure having you guys over, and I've enjoyed myself equally as you've enjoyed yourselves. And I just want to thank you. And I think, like you've all mentioned and all say that, praise singing is not, as dumb as Ichi Jombo she works with, but that this is something that is, people are logically thinking. This is an intelligent crop of people. We're not praising a government. We're actually objective. And I tend to think that praise singers are even better than the opposition, because we give the honest checks and balances. We don't have a vested interest. So when I tell a PS that his work is really bad, or he needs a public relations person to speak for him, then I'm speaking from a point of love. I'm not speaking from a point where I'm just, blabbering and everything. So it's really been a pleasure, and thank you so much to all those that have listened in, to all those that were commenting. Thank you so much to those that could send their stars in. Thank you so much equally to those that sent the stars, or if you're yet to send in the stars, please do, and we'll thank you so much for that. And on that note, I would like to say good evening, and thank you so much for listening in.
Thank you.